page 1 gets all the glory. Oh, look at me, I'm a pristine blank slate full of potential. Everyone makes a big deal out of it, but page 2 is the real gatekeeper, the unsung sequel, the Shrek 2 electric boogaloo of sketchbooks. This page has pressure. It's where you prove that starting wasn't a fluke, that your good ideas weren't just a one-time burst of inspiration and existential dread, but, and this is important, page 2 is where it also starts being fun. This is the page that traps you, in a good way. It's where the sketchbook stops being a shelf knickknack and starts feeling like a home. So today, we're making fan art by taking an existing IP and drawing it in my style, and at the same time, I'll be interviewing the extremely talented and busy Victor Grove. This is the Sketchbook Show. Welcome back to the Sketchbook Show. We're on page 2. We're here with illustrator, inker, fan artist, and photographer Victor Grove. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Dom. I'm so excited.
Now, did you want to touch upon where you got the name Victor Grove? Because I thought that was a fun story.
Oh, yes. Okay. So it's also my introduction to getting involved with the furry fandom and doing illustrative and commission work for furry fandom. So the origin, so how it went was I was at this really like bummer of a party, like the worst party you can imagine. Everyone was sitting around, not happy to be there, and there were a couple people in particular that were just really making me upset, and I figured like why am I here? Like this isn't someplace I wanted to be because I had always been curious about furry, and there was a convention going on that weekend, but I decided not to go because I had gotten this party invite, and then here I am, and it's not going well. So I decided to skip the party, and I went Saturday night to my first furry convention, and I was like, oh, here are people having fun. These are people like enjoying themselves, being enthusiastic about something. And I was going around telling them my name, like, because they wanted to, like, introductions, get to know me. And I told them my actual name, and they were looking at me kind of funny. And they told me, no, 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 you need to have a furry name. Because they're going around using names like Sparkles, Cookie, like fun names. So I was walking around, and I'm a huge fan of the Cats musical. And I was like, oh, I think I got my name because there's a song from the Cats musical. It's like, we make our home in Victoria Grove. So I just like changed it a little bit. And that's where the name comes from.
That's a perfect place to like grab a name. It's a good deep cut. I like that. You know, as I discussed in a previous episode, a lot of artists do not finish their sketchbooks. I mean, most people have like 37 sketchbooks, finished one sketchbook, and then the other 30 are in their drawer, like plotting the revenge. Like, do you finish your sketchbooks?
Yeah. So actually, since we started talking about sketchbooks, I decided to pick mine up again because I had set it down for quite a long time. And I used to have a really like combative nature with my sketchbook. And I think it was just because I was seeing like so many other artists just do immaculate work in their sketchbooks that I would feel like, well, if it's no good, why am I drawing in it? I think after a while I really started to like let all those expectations go. As like, if it takes me 2 years to finish a sketchbook, it's like a journal of 2 years. But I do finish them, but I typically finish one every 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so well, that's perfect. That leads me to my
Mhm.
next question: is like, what is your mindset when you're in a sketchbook? Like, how much do you plan versus how much you improvise? I know me when I'm on a sketchbook, I think I plan more than I improvise, mostly because my sketchbooks are for planning comics that I have to do. And just like everything, every time I pick up a sketchbook, there seems to be a task. And I wish I had more of a free flow mindset when I was in one.
That's a good question. I think it is kind of like, well, if I pick up my sketchbook, maybe I already have an idea, and the sketchbook is kind of working out and playing with that idea.
Hmm.
Like, is this going to be a blueprint for like a larger piece later, or is this a study? Maybe this is a character study, like for expressions like what you're working on. Or is this going to be something that is going to be on a large scale later on? So I guess it kind of depends what it is. I think it's mostly freeform for me though, because your sketchbook is supposed to be, or at least I think, your sketchbook is supposed to be a place where you get to play with ideas, and ideally during play there shouldn't be a lot of judgment and expectations for those ideas.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. I hope that with this show, the Sketchbook Show, this will be my chance to just play around a little bit more. You do like a lot of different types of arts. Like, how do you balance working across such a wide range of mediums? I mean, you do what, fan art, furry commissions, trading cards, and photography. Like, how do you
Yeah,
balance all that?
yeah, it's a lot. I will be honest, it is very, I think going into the arts, I didn't quite realize it until I was in it, but this demands your time. Like, it's not uncommon for me to work anywhere between 10 to 14 hours every day, doing everything. I work around the sun. So I work when it is sunny in certain areas of my apartment at certain times of the day so that I can see what I'm doing.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good
so,
point.
yeah, so like in the mornings, I'll do my drawing, whereas in the evenings, I'll do more editing related type things. But no, it's a packed day. And if I have, I do photo shoots maybe like 2, 3 times a week. And I make sure when I get commissioned or client work, like, I give myself enough time because a lot of times projects are overlapped and stacked on each other. It's making sure everything gets its proper time and proper place, I would say.
Mad respect. I mean, I do a lot of different artistic stuff too, but sometimes actually most times I find that like that day is dedicated to that thing, but you literally
Mhm.
do like everything in one day as much as you can, right? That's wild.
Yeah, I feel like if I get too stuck in on something, then the hyper focus kicks in. And I'm not against hyper focus, but because then it's also like a juggling where if I'm too focused on one thing, then other things kind of get pushed to the side. But I can't just push one thing to the side because when you're an artist, I feel like you really have to be adaptive in terms of like where income is coming from certain things. So you can't quite focus just solely on one thing, if that makes
Facts.
any sense.
Oh yeah. Let's talk Danny Phantom. You're a fan
Yes. Oh,
and
yes. I'm a big PH fan. Yeah.
because of you I found out that there's Danny Phantom drawing prompt list like Inktober out there.
Yeah.
Are you watching Danny Phantom as you draw often? Do you like does Danny Phantom like mean something to you personally?
Oh man. So I will put on like an episode if I'm sick or something, but I'll put on like lo-fi for ghosts or like lo-fi for ghosts only, and it's like it's a big mood, and it's the mood that I sit with a lot of the time. I think Danny Phantom for me, it really just speaks to like being involved with fandom has helped so much creatively energize me. And with Danny Phantom specifically, it's just that there's a lot of very specific elements of the show that fans have continued to play with over time. And it's these elements that these just very creative people keep playing with. And the creativity, it just snowballs and it keeps me feeling really energized. And it's just nice to feel excited about something and to be a part of the community in the way that fandom is.
So
Um,
you've connected with other artists through your fandom for Danny Phantom?
yeah, because there's not just Danny May. So Danny May is a community event where there's like a prompt list. It's like October, like you said, and you draw a prompt that's Danny Phantom related every day. But there's also other community related events to that, and you like share your drawings in Discord chats, and it's just a fun geek time. It reminds me of being a teenager and you're like really obsessed over pop culture. Like
Okay.
you're all just having fun, like enjoying the same things, telling the same stories, but what if this was different, or what if they had explored a little more about this in there, and oh, the story possibilities, the drama. So, oh, I love that. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely relate. I've made a lot of friends at the In fact, a lot of my current friends right now, I'm at the Spider's Web in Yonkers, a comic shop in Yonkers, and then we're all part of my Discord now. And that what if conversation is like every day on the Discord. It is a lot of fun. It inspires a lot of things that we do on our YouTube channel.
It reminds me of your show with the making the movie poster for the movie poster that doesn't exist,
Oh
or
my
for the movie that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Non-canon underground.
Yeah.
I had to make that because all we do is brainstorm stuff like all the time. And I'm just like, we should just record this because this is super fun. I'll switch over to one of your other fandoms. So when you're approaching furry art, what's the difference between drawing animals and furries? Like what's the key to like morphing that anatomy? Because I have not got, I mean, I have a duck character that I draw, but really it's just a duck head on a human body. So but I haven't really tried any other furry art. So, like, what's the key there?
First of all, I love your duck head. We've talked about this before,
I
but
appreciate it.
I really love that duck mascot. I find it so charming. So yeah, he's a cool dude. Look at him. You know. Um. No. So let's see. I guess I was just like I was curious about furry for a while because I think like a lot of people I had kind of heard some of the misconceptions about it,
Hmm.
and I was like, I just want to like talk to people, see what they think about it. And something that brings me back to the design are part of like you sometimes you see like fursonas that are almost more emoting than a human comic character. The ears, the eyes, tails, claws, jaws, it's just furthering that anthropomorphism of even more there's even more of a range of expressiveness that these traits can be expressive of, and that's really appealing to me. I like that furry as a fandom is like about radical self-expression, and people pick animals because either they think they're cool or they represent themselves or they just feel very like spiritually connected with a certain animal, and that's what they go for. I think that that's a really beautiful thing, like, and it's the sincerity and honesty in it too. Like I like ducks because ducks are cool, you know.
Yeah,
And dogs are cool, sometimes animals teach us more about humanity than humans do in certain ways. It's a
yeah.
classic like
Oh,
Aesop's fable thing, I think.
that's beautifully put. I like how diverse the furry community is.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't just like emphasize their personas. They're also just got this genuine obsession with animal cartoon characters. We have a friend. Shout out to Angelo Falls who is obsessed with Lion King and draws a lot of Lion King
Yeah.
fan art. And oh my god, it kills it.
No, and I have this like working theory that I kind of think furry is going to become mainstream maybe in like 10 or so years. Furry's already had some mainstream hits. I mean, with Zootopia, I'll count Lion King in that too. Beastars.
Ooh,
I
Beastars.
remember, yeah, I mean, I remember a time when no one thought anime was going to be pop culture. Like, this is a niche nerd thing that's only a few select people are into. But I mean, anime is pop culture now, and I think as more people get, exposed to the wider like what this is about, I think more people will be on board with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see it hitting the mainstream a lot more lately. And I'm glad that, the first time I ever heard of the furry community, I was working for the CW. I was part of the street team, and I was at a Vermont Comic Con when I saw a couple people dressed up as like animals, wolves, and they said they were furries. And I'm like, oh, cool. What comic is that? And they're like, no, no, it's not a comic. And then they explained it to me and I can't even remember how long ago that was. That was forever ago. But I'm glad that was the first time I ever heard of furries because if I had learned on the internet, then yeah, you're right. There's like the people who like try to frame it as some kind of kink or something. I'm glad that I actually learned it from furries at a Comic Con, that's super cool.
I definitely see more furries just at conventions in general. Like, they're not confined to just the furry conventions now. Like, I see them at Comic Cons, I see them at anime expos, I see them at all the shows now. Or like sometimes I'll see people walking around with a backpack full of pins, and I'm just like, I got you. I see you. I know what you like.
Because I know you do furry commissions as an artist. Like, you create the visual concept of someone's character. Like, do you bring someone's character to life, their persona?
Yeah, I do. So I do typically ask that people bring me a reference sheet, but if people don't have a reference sheet, that is totally okay. And I can interpret from a description, or like I'll start off with a sketch and go from there. I've done both, but reference sheets are always cool, especially if this is a character that like they've really put some thought and time into. It's just good to, because like if they're asking for a commission from me, I really want to make sure that I'm giving it the best representation that I can. I would say my style in terms of rendering, it kind of goes one of two ways, and a lot of times there's like the mix area where something will be very, very cute in terms of like big eyes, big fluff, like big features. But at the same time, I put a lot of emphasis into that this is an actual creature that could walk, hunt, run, those types of things. So there's more emphasis on jaws, articulation of the legs, particularly hind legs, claws, those types of things. And that is where I put attention to detail specifically. So those are also just the features that I find anatomically challenging. So that's where also my eye is going a bit in that sense.
When you're like just practicing free flowing in your sketchbook, do you practice other species? Because like I noticed that most furries seem to be the same species. Am I wrong? It seems like they gravitate towards dogs, cats, literal furry creatures, which I know reptiles are considered furries too.
They are. They're considered scalies. So there's like a whole
Aliens.
lingo too behind this. But yeah, no, I would say the majority of people, like people gravitate towards also popular animals, like dogs, wolves, cats are very popular. But I've drawn possums, otters, those types of things. So I do get a very wide variety of different types of species, and especially like as an artist who takes commission, this is especially fun because it's it's fun when someone has an idea that you don't come across every day, and they're like, could you make this for me in this specific way, maybe with X, Y, and Z added onto it? And it's like, oh, that's a little different.
Were
Yeah.
there any that were like challenging?
Either challenging. I think that that's where I would go back to, like, that's why I ask for a lot of time given a commission. I typically will ask for anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks for a commission, because if I ever feel that I'm getting stuck, that's where I want to like redraft and redo. I definitely, I think like any project, you run into certain ones that just for some reason they're not coming together, and you're like, okay, I need to take a rain check on this. I need to like go out, get out for a run or something, and maybe actually like look at some critters and see where I'm going wrong here.
Getting into nature to be inspired by this, that's perfect.
Hmm.
Although I do that for like all art. I mean, I rarely experience creative blocks. I feel like I'm constantly inspired. My one problem is time, but like, yeah, if I ever do, which is rare, it can happen. Usually it's in depression involved, but like nature is like going for walks. We live near Van Cortlandt Park. It's excellent.
No,
um
I really agree with that. I think we talked about this a little bit before too, how I also don't really get art block. It is a matter of like, oh, there's only so many hours of a day, and I have X, Y, and Z obligations. So like, what do I have time to actually do and actually, create? But oh yeah, getting outside, swimming, running, taking some photos. I think it's important for artists to have hobbies outside of art. Even though like it's such a dedication to your time, the process of making art, but just to help to keep your brain working and help keeping your brain fresh. I think it's just really important that artists have things that they like to do outside of their work.
and which for you, what would that be?
So I'm also I don't know if I've told you this. So I'm also a distance swimmer. I am currently training for a 3 mile race come September, which I'm pretty excited about. It's going to be an open water race. So definitely like getting out and moving and going for a swim. It really helps me clear my head. It really helps me relax and just, not stress out too much.
Wow, no, I
'Cause,
did
you know,
not do that. I feel like every time I
yeah.
talk to you, you say something cool. Like, what the hell?
Oh my goodness. When you have so many things that you're responsible for, like it's stress management is key. And swimming really helps me with that, as well as, my photography, spending time with friends and family, and just making sure that, keeping a fresh good attitude about life. Are you putting the ecto green around?
Yes, I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna color some of this after too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I find that like when you're drawing practically, sometimes it's hard to keep up with digital artists, so you have to think of things to make yourself fit in. And I noticed that modern cartooning doesn't always like to use black lines to outline things. So like you got to get yourself some of these color pens and outline your characters with things other than black all the time. You know?
Oh, absolutely. It also helps it like it can help it like pop, especially like with the green. Like it's the illusion of it being see-through, even though of course it's just a 2D thing.
Yeah, exactly. Tips and tricks. So another cool thing that you do is you design art for trading cards. Like how did you get involved with
Yeah.
that?
Miraculous coincidence is how I got involved in that. So I was so excited. I was approached by an indie developer. I don't know how much he would like me to talk specifics about it, but it was one of the first times as a artist that I signed a contract, and I was like, oh, this is so neat. I have to sign something to get this. And he had his concept for the game, and he approached me. We met at a convention, and he asked me to do some of the trading card work, some of the artwork for the cards for him. And I thought that that was a really wonderful idea. As an artist, one of my bucket list items is like doing a Magic the Gathering artwork, and is like, this is what, do work for the work that you want to do.
Yeah.
So he saw my existing body of work, and he was like, he just approached me and asked me.
Okay. So I'm gonna assume that this is not out yet.
No, this is not out yet.
Oh, that's so cool. And this must have inspired you to want to do like your own cards now that you've done it for someone else.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Oh no, this is so silly. I had this like idea for a trading card game where it would be like, because so for trading card games that I played growing up, like I played Pokemon growing up, and it was always like you had your critter versus your critter, and they would duke it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this idea, well, what if it was Catboy characters and they're just trying to out cute each other, and you would like equip them with like cute accessories to like heighten their uwu power. And I don't know if I'll ever go anywhere with that idea, but I had the concept for it, and I was like, I don't, this is so funny. I think people would be into it.
Yeah, I would totally play that.
Yeah,
What,
you'd be
what
into
kind of what
that.
kind of and it would come with cuteness accessories, I would assume.
Oh, easily.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Did you see I think there's a manga out called Night of the Living Cats or something like that. You ever heard of this?
That sounds amazing. I've never heard of it, but it sounds amazing, and I want to be into it.
There is a like a cat apocalypse in the form of a zombie apocalypse, and
Yes,
these cats are hunting people down with cuteness.
perfect.
Yeah. You should definitely look into it.
That sounds amazing, and it does sound like I'd really be into that.
And I just saw a trailer for the anime to it on Crunchyroll, and it was just the funniest concept I've ever seen. So yeah, this might be the time for you to work on those cards.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
So when you're designing trading cards, is there anything different about designing a card? Is there anything about designing for a card format versus standard illustration or fan art?
I would say it's really just client parameters, because they have given you a prompt, and it's like any type of client work. They have specific things that they need you to meet, while at the same time they're like, thankfully in most cases that I have worked in, they're like, you're the artist, we want you to go with your own ideas. But keep in mind it needs to be this size, and it needs to represent this, that, like it needs to be on brand. Like those types of parameters are involved, but it's never been anything where I was like, oh, I feel too constrained necessarily. So you know, you got to keep the client in mind and what they're looking for too.
Yeah, I would love that opportunity. I am part of a Discord group, the Artist Appreciation Project. They're really cool. They have a contest once a month. All these artists submit work based on whatever the subject is, the prompt, and they choose like maybe I don't like 10 winners every month, and
Mm.
those 10 winners will get their concept printed on a card. A deck of cards will be sent to you every time you win. It's almost like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. And to me, I consider it like it's similar to getting artists together for an anthology, except instead of a book, it's a deck of cards.
Oh, I really like that idea. That sounds amazing. Yeah, if you ever get your hands on it, I'd love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look for it after this, and I'll even send you a link to the Discord. I'll drop it below this video as well. I know you're a photographer, a wedding photographer. You said, right?
Yes, and I have one this weekend. So I would say I do mostly creative photography, which I know sounds very vague, but it's a type of photography where I take pictures and I sell them. But I also do events. So right now I've done weddings and special occasions, and it's just a great way to supplement. Again, it's just thinking of revenue streams as an artist. Because as you can imagine, the artwork that I do is quite labor intensive. So it's like, okay, well, how do I fund this? Like, how can I afford to draw for this many hours a day? And photography is a great way to help supplement that.
Absolutely. I mean, as soon as you said you did weddings, I mean, I assumed that was for the money. I'm not excluding that some people like doing photography for weddings out there, but what subjects do you enjoy photographing the most?
I would say it is mostly like figure photography in terms of like the human body in physical space. Part of my traditional artwork that I also try to I just wish I were better at it. You know, like anatomy is such a beautiful thing in terms of values, shapes, and composition of the human body in a space, and especially in the 2D space that either like the paper or the camera picks up. And I'm just very fascinated with movement as well as like muscle, like what does certain what do certain poses look like in certain lighting? How does the body react under these types of lighting conditions? I'm very fascinated by that.
I mean, the only photography really that I used to do, I would quote unquote do some creative photography, but like the photography I really enjoyed was doing toy photography. I don't know if you've ever seen.
I'm not sure what you mean. You mean like photographing like figurines, that type of thing?
Yeah, action figures. You set them up in
Okay, then yeah.
either A, dioramas you build, or B, you go out into the wild and you find cool ways to make the figure look like it's coming to life in nature. Some people
Mhm.
create explosions and time their photo, and it's like super cool stuff.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. I've seen people make these like insane dioramas for their figures. I think I saw one time on Instagram or something, someone had a whole bunch of like Pokemon figures and they made like this like layered terrarium diorama. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so cool, man. Like imagine having something like that in your house, like just as a display piece. That'd be awesome.
I would like lose a lot of time staring at it. I would. I have no problem
Mhm.
just daydreaming forever.
You know, that's a common artist thing. You know, we're big daydreamers with very vivid imaginations, and maybe that's why we don't experience art block, because we like to be with our thoughts and just imagine.
What was the other question I had about photography? Oh yeah, does your photography like influence any of your other art or vice versa?
So that's an interesting question, because my this is one I go back and forth on, because like the creative photography is different than my like illustration painting type of work, where one is definitely its own distinctive thing. And I keep trying to think, like, I guess it's just the difference of medium. Like, how come the two don't intersect a bit more? But I don't know. Maybe it's the type of instance where, like, well, medium lets you do different things. I don't know. I haven't found that to be the case, because the type of art that I'm making in terms of like drawing, it is very different than the photography that I do.
Because I wouldn't know how to answer that question either. I feel like I create my own references. That's for sure. My own reference photos.
Mhm.
Living in New York City, oh man, we live in the place where all the superhero stories happen, or it's just like there's so many shapes and fun things to take pictures of here in the city that I have like nonstop really cool references. So
Okay, then yeah, then yeah, because I do the exact same thing. Like instead of looking for reference photos, I'll just take photos of my own, or I'll use a friend or my husband, and I'll be like, okay, perfect, there, that's the shape. That's what we're going for.
another thing you used to do to make money is you were a pet sitter or a dog walker.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my babies. So I think this like also influences what aspects of character design in terms of furry that I pay attention to, because I was a dog walker for 10 years. I did full-time dog walking, pet sitting, dog training, all those types of things. I was doing it up to a point where I realized that I had quite a few qualifications that other people just hadn't. It was the type of thing where I had been doing it for so long and had so much experience doing it that I was able to take on clients that other people couldn't take on because the dog had a bite history. Maybe they were very reactive. Maybe they
Oh.
were just they didn't have the best start in life, so maybe they had a couple issues here and there. But because I had been working with animals for so long, I could take them on as a client and handle them so that they could still get to be dogs and be outside and still have everything be safe. I really loved doing it. I had done it for a long time. Ultimately, the reason why I gave it up was because I had just hit a ceiling with it. I'd done it for, like I said, 10 years, and it was just time to move on to another career. But because I'm around those kinds of dogs, I'm looking at their teeth, I'm looking at their claws. I'm just thinking about power, loyalty. They show you and teach you a lot about yourself. Patience, they teach you a lot of patience. You have to learn how to communicate with them. They don't speak human, they speak dog. So you learn how to you understand through reading their body language what they need from you as a handler. And they need someone who can be firm, but as well as reliable, and that they know what to expect from you. But I miss them though.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have any funny stories involving any of these animals?
Oh, okay, I got one. I got one. One of my favorite dogs. So, funnily enough, my family, we still watch her. I've had this client since, oh my goodness, I think I've been taking care of this client for at least 7 years. So, her name is Nellie. She's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. She's 13 years old now, Dom. She's an old
Whoa.
girl. But we used to go like running together. We would run miles together. Oh, that was another thing that I would do. I would specifically go running with dogs. Forget just walking. Like these were like full on workouts for families that had like high energy breeds. Like I would just go running with them. And she was one of my running clients, so we would like go on nature trails and that kind of thing. The things that this dog has found for me and gotten herself into on our runs. One time she found me $10. She just like pulled over to the side of the road and she just sniffed out $10 for me. I was like, this is great. Nelly, find more. Yeah, one time she found just a whole pizza off the side of the trail. And every time we would go back to the trail, she would check that one spot again to just see if there was a whole pizza there again. Yeah. One time she because this was also near a river, and sometimes fish would run up on the river. And she saw that fish before I saw that fish, and I was like, oh no. So, what happened was she decided that was the best smelling fish in the whole world, even though it had been washed up on the basking sidewalk and probably dead for weeks. And she decided to roll all in it, and it was a lovely smell on that car ride home, I tell you. We got up to so much shenanigans together, and she's one of my best friends.
That is hilarious. You could definitely make a comic series of that dog. Those are a lot of those are like
Now
a lot of
that's
like Sunday newspaper strips.
now that's a good idea. Make little comic stories of some of my antics-filled dog sitting adventures.
Yes, which as we talked before, you have never made a comic before, but I'm really trying to push you to make one.
I appreciate you trying to push me in that direction too, because a lot of other people have been like asking for a comic from me occasionally, and Yeah, I do like that as an idea. That sounds very fun.
It's a different kind of challenge, you know, because
Mhm.
you could put hours and hours of work into one panel, but it's comics are more about like distributing hours and hours of work amongst several panels, and I definitely think you could do it. Or you know, you could if you just only ever want to do it for fun, you could spend hours upon hours on one panel at a time until you finish the greatest comic book of all time. That is also a thing too.
I think that that's where like I get stuck because I get so like into the nitty-gritty of one image that like I just want to stay with that image for a while. And maybe that's where I have always had difficulty, just for me personally, like translating that into a comic page. So no, I'll think about that. Good, it's good brain food to think about.
Is there anything you wish like more people understood about being a multidisciplinary artist?
I think that you need to understand how demanding of your time this is going to be. I think you need to be okay with the uncertainty that comes with having a creative career. You need to get real comfortable with being uncomfortable. You need to
Ooh.
be okay with having people not understand you, and having them not understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's just it's a cultural thing. I don't know if people understand the value of creative work as intrinsically valuable in terms of how like we value people having traditional work in the sense of like a 9 to 5 job. My best advice would be just be very comfortable with yourself, understand that you know what's best for you, work on allowing yourself to be able to pivot from one thing to another. Like if something's not working in one direction, it's good to try new things. You know, there's a lot of ways to be a working creative out there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think artists
Yeah.
really embrace the fact that they are creative, and that doesn't mean that it's always in a sketchbook. I mean, it's situationally creative, get out there. Excellently put, for sure. You've done so much stuff. Is there any like dream projects that you haven't done yet, but you'd still love to?
Oh, absolutely. I think just blanket statement, my dream project would be to get all the projects out of my head and onto the paper.
Oh my
Like
god.
if I could finally get through this backlog of things, that would be awesome. But no, I do have some tangible goals. I have specific shows that I would really like to see myself get into. I have specific shows that I'd like to see myself get into in terms of them being like juried shows. I have certain benchmarks in terms of like finance per month that I'd like to generally be able to meet. Those are the two that come to mind that like I have specific show related ambitions as well as monetary ones.
So yeah, I mean that's all the questions I got. I mean, you do photography by day, commissions by night. You occasionally swim marathons. That is like
Not
not just
Not
talent. That
marathon.
is
I'm not at that level yet. So the race that I'm planning to do in September is 3 miles in open water. So there will be a current and there will be waves, but it's 3 miles. So I'm really looking forward to it. I swam the race last year. I just did the 1 mile, and I figured, it'd be cool if I actually trained. Maybe I could go a bit farther. So I was going to do the 3 mile this year.
that sounds exhausting, but you can do it. Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you eat good food afterwards, so it's all good.
Yeah, so all the badassery you do, it all starts on a sketchbook. Thanks for joining us. I definitely will be interviewing you again in the future.
Oh, Dom, I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. I loved all your questions. And my goodness, da boy, look at him. He's perfect. He's gonna save the day, and he's gonna. Oh my, he looks so nice. I absolutely love it. I love how you drew Sam too. Like the expressions of them are very heartwarming to me. No, knocked it out of the park, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Especially coming from you. I appreciate that.
Ah.
Well, I'm going to stop recording.